Thousands of workers began their workday on April 23, 2013, inside the Rana Plaza building in Bangladesh. They would work for a few hours before large cracks would be observed on the 7th floor of the building, and the entire building would have to be evacuated and evaluated by an engineer to determine if it was structurally safe. That engineer showed up and determined that a concrete structure with 2-inch deep cracks in it was not structurally stable and should remain closed until it could be further evaluated by more engineers and technicians. The owner of the building, a man by the name of Sohail Rana, was unhappy with this finding and brought in his own inspectors and engineers that same day to inspect the building, and miraculously, they discovered that the building was totally safe and everyone could return to work. But you see, from almost the moment the building was built, it wasn't safe at all. Underneath Rana Plaza was originally a swamp, and instead of draining that swamp and clearing out all of the old dirt, putting in fresh dirt to make it more stable, they just filled the swamp in with trash and then built the building on top of it. In addition, each floor of the 8th-floor building was poured with concrete that was too thin and had too much sand, which caused it to become much more brittle and not be able to support the loads, as well as they used significantly less steel and the improper kind of steel in the construction of the building. And then to top it all off, it was originally supposed to be a 4-story structure in which the floors contained offices and retail shops, but instead they added an extra 4 floors and a 9th one that was under construction, and then changed floors 3 through 8 to be garment manufacturing areas instead of retail shops. This drastically changed the load inside of the building, and in addition, they added 4 diesel generators to the roof without changing any of the structure inside, because power regularly goes out in Bangladesh and they didn't want their workers to stop working. So on the morning of April 24, 2013, after workers had received notice that they had to go back to work, thousands of them gathered outside the plaza and hesitated to go inside. Realizing their hesitation, Sohail Rana went to the managers of each of the manufacturing companies and told them to threaten their workers with withholding a month's worth of pay unless they went back to work inside the building. At 8:45 a.m., all of the workers were back inside the building. At 9 a.m., the power cut in the building and the diesel generators on the roof kicked on. This vibrated the whole building and caused a loud cracking sound that many workers responded to and began to sprint for the exits. Unfortunately, most of them would not make it in time, and the entire building would collapse down to the 2nd floor, trapping thousands of people inside. The rescue effort would last for 19 days, with the last person being rescued from the building 17 days after the collapse with only minor scrapes and bruises. In total, 1,134 people died in the collapse. Sohail Rana was arrested in the aftermath of the disaster along with 40 other people, and he faces the death penalty if convicted of the murder charges he has.